Welcome into Ramie and Drew, episode 2. I'm Ramie Mackloff. That's my co-host, Drew Flaggy. Drew, say hello to the people out there.
Hello to the people out there.
And episode 1 in the books. Bart Winkler was our guest. He had some podcasting tips for us, Drew, including hardwire our computers, which neither of us have done yet. And it was an issue as we were trying to set up for this podcast here today. And the other thing you mentioned was like a background, like a little presentation on our end in terms of what's behind us for those watching on the YouTube, in the YouTube audience. And you can find us at Ramie and Drew on YouTube real easy. And I see you hung up a picture there behind you. What is that? A Guardians of the Galaxy poster?
Yeah, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy movie poster. I actually took it down for the last one because I didn't want people to be like, "Oh, he's a fucking nerd." But like,
well, you are a fucking nerd. Why don't you?
I know.
Why are you trying to? What are you trying to hide? What do you mean?
That I'm a nerd. that now every time I look at the Guardians of the Galaxy poster in my living room, that I just get sad at what Marvel is now.
Did you watch Echo? Have you watched Echo?
Fuck no. I'm not gonna. No. Why would I saw the Daredevil fight scene and it was terrible. I was like, nah. Like,
what do you mean? No, it was good. I thought the fight scene. Actually, I enjoyed Echo. I liked it. I don't know anything about the character, the comic book, any
neither do the people who wrote it.
Who cares?
Who cares? Echo's powers in the comics, she's basically Taskmaster. Like that's it. Like no, she can echo back to her dead family. That is so stupid.
What do you mean? What's so stupid about it? Why is that any stupider than any other superpower that any other superhero has ever had? What's so stupid about that?
You echo back to your family. Like that doesn't even make sense. Like the way words work. The good thing she doesn't have to use any fucking words because she's deaf. I hate it. I hate it all, dude. Go back and watch Captain America: Civil War and tell me this is the exact same thing. Is there ever gonna be a point where we can have like the beginning of Avengers: Infinity War in one of these movies where it's like, oh, like heavy shit happens? It's like, no, they're all just giggling while they do dumb fight scenes now. like the whole thing where it's like we're Falcon. I didn't want to do Marvel shit right away on stuff like this. This is gonna be like a baseball season thing where it's like, hey, it's summer and we got 3 Marvel movies coming out and they're all bad. Like, that was.
Well, I just finished Echo today, so it was top of mind for me.
6 episodes.
And you, yeah, no, I finished it.
Dude, it was supposed to be like 10 episodes or something, and like Kevin Feige was like, "Oh, this is unreleasable," and they chopped it to shit and made it 6 episodes.
So they
didn't even believe in this. That's why they put it on Hulu.
So you took that poster down for episode 1? That was on your wall, and you took it down for episode 1 of the podcast?
Yeah, because I didn't realize that my light next to me was gonna like actually make me look like I was in like a weird church or something like that. Like my eggshell white walls, like I had like an aura around me, like I was like some like angel. It was weird.
And by the way, we've heard your comments, we've heard your critiques and constructive criticisms about what can be better about the show. And Drew ordered some headphones that have a microphone in them, so that his sound will be better on a soon to coming to your laptop or other device episode of Ramie and Drew.
My Amazon thing said it's tomorrow. It was supposed to be today, but it got delayed.
So, I didn't hang anything on my
porch pirated.
I didn't hang anything on my wall, but I was messing around with like the virtual backgrounds on this thing, and there's this one, but Bart has already kind of co-opted this one. The fancy living room with the piano behind me. And by the way, if you're listening on Spotify, you can just jump ahead like 2 minutes and we'll get into the stuff that applies to you. But then I tried putting this one in here. This is an actual picture I took, Bart, at the Bucks championship parade. And if I move this way, you can see this is the moment when Giannis, he set the trophy down on the stage and everybody just stepped back and took a second to admire what they had accomplished in winning an NBA championship. But it doesn't look good because I don't have a green screen, so it just kind of cuts off. It cuts off the top of my head. So I think we're just going to go with the normal, plain white wall background for this one. But again, this show is only going to grow and get better, and we'll continue to add things for your viewing and listening pleasure in the Ramie and Drew universe.
I was going to say the CGI on you, where it was all kind of like grainy and shit, it was better than Ant-Man Quantumania. So, you know, we have Marvel level effect. Like the uncanny valley, absolutely right now. You look like a real person. You look believable like Thanos, really. I'm like, holy shit, he sweats.
I thought that was all right too. But all right, let's get into the meat of the show here, Drew. And we are at 40. I can't believe it. We're 41 games into the NBA season, and Drew thought this would be a good time to do some Bucks mid-season grades. And I'll tell people off the top that Drew and we talked about this a little bit before the show, a little show planning, mapping out of what we're going to talk about today. None of what you just heard in the first 5 minutes was in that discussion. And I said, okay, so you just want to do what, like the starters, and then we'll grade the bench like as a whole. We'll just give the bench a grade. And Drew said, no, I want to grade everyone on this fucking roster. So Drew, I feel like
stand like Ty Washington. I didn't do them. Like I didn't do like two-way
guys who have played, guys who have actually played for this basketball team.
That's also not true, because I did grade Robin Lopez, and to the best of my knowledge, has played 4 total minutes. So
graded him based on. Let's start there. What is his grade? And based on what? His trolling of mascots? What did you grade Robin Lopez on?
Well, if it was the trolling of mascots, he's an A+.
He's the GOAT. Yeah, he's MJ of that.
The lack of a need for a chair, like, I mean, I think that says where he fits on the team. Is they're just like, you don't need a chair. Just thanks for being here. Like,
so what's his grade then?
He never has to change the pair of socks he wears because he knows he's not going to sweat in them. Like, I like Robin Lopez. I think he's hilarious. Like, I love that State Farm commercial. I gave him a D. Okay,
a D for what?
Exactly. I don't know what he brings. Like, what does he do on the team? Like besides like practice. Like, okay, this is why I came up with a D. If Bobby Portis or Brooke got hurt, like, we're gonna go get someone else, like, for an extended amount of time, because what does he do? Like, he's not really even effective in garbage time. So he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun, but I'm like, I just don't know what he brings to the table here at all at this point. Like, he's kind of in that category of I just like that he's here, but I don't know what he does on the court.
The State Farm commercial is one of the best State Farm commercials that has been produced with their NBA stars today. I love that commercial. When I do grades, like in sports, when I do grades, it's always on the curve of expectations. And I had no expectations for Robin Lopez. There were zero expectations for Robin Lopez.
Let me start with, I'm just going to knock it out of the way right away. Like, because I'll go from the bottom of the bench up. But the thing is, like, I'm just going to start with this. He's A+. That's it. It's just, he's an A+.
Who was?
It's Giannis.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
starting with Giannis because that's the most predictable one. Like, yeah, it's like people can be like his free throw shooting, whatever. Giannis, I don't know what it is about this year, why the team is more vocal and like why what's being said in the locker room comes out to the media more. I have no idea who's leaking it or what's going on with any of that. But every time Giannis has had to say something like we need to be better, he comes out and he puts his money where his mouth is every single time. And that goes back to him just signing the contract extension. That goes back to him. Like, I kind of thought it was a BS answer when he was asked about failure after the Miami Heat series. I was like, now I came around on that because I'm like, oh, he actually is embracing every single day like as like playing in the NBA. Like it's like he really seems like he's taking it as this could all end one day, and he's really enjoying the ride, and he's getting better every year. He's 60% from the floor. Like he's unreal, and it's like all the people said coming into the season, all the talking heads were like, big athletic guys, they always fall off once they hit a certain, proving them wrong again. Like he's great. He's an A+.
Yeah, I'm giving Giannis an A+ too. And again, that's even on the curve of expectations, which I always do when I'm grading athletes. He has met or exceeded expectations, which is insane. You know what I mean? When a guy has already done what he's done to this point in his career, and he sets a certain standard or sets a certain bar, and then he clears it the way that he has this year. To me, Drew, and I'm biased, and I got to think my bias has played into the fact that, I've said this every year, the last 4 or 5 years, he's the MVP in this league. Find me somebody who's having as much of an impact on both sides of the floor as combined, and I'll find you somebody who's an alien and is not playing in this NBA. He's the MVP. There is not a more valuable player in the NBA than Giannis. And we saw that last night, because what the fuck was that? What we saw last night when Giannis took the night off, and they all were like, all right, I guess we're all taking the night off. Everybody looked terrible as soon as Giannis decided to take a night off.
After we do the grades, we can talk about my experience watching the beginning of that game, because I watched the beginning of it, the first half, with Louisa and Reagan, and Louisa had takes.
Louisa is our comedian friend who's from Germany and knows very little, if anything, about basketball and sports in general, but had takes last night.
She was explaining to me why basketball would benefit from not having clock stoppages, and if they would just add time at the end of the fucking game.
No, we're not turning this into soccer. The midseason tournament was enough. We're not turning this into fucking soccer.
She is taller than me, so I thought I could maybe at least like lunge at her a little bit and just be like, stop talking stupid. And maybe I got lost in accent. I don't know. Like that was
all right. Who's after? So we got Robin Lopez and Giannis knocked out. Who's next, Drew?
We got Thanasis and A.
Again,
he's getting.
What are you?
Okay, hear me out. Thanasis, this is based on expectation. I didn't expect him to.
Fair. You know what? Fair. Based on my expectation curve or scale, that's fair, because what did you expect from this dude? He has to have at least met, if not exceeded, expectations.
So I was gonna give him a C+, okay, but it was based on just him getting Giannis to sign the contract, being like, just you want to be here, just sign it. It was based on that being the 15th guy in the roster and playing like assistant GM. Like it's crazy. He was gonna get a C+ until we blew the Celtics out, and he had a better stat line than Jason Tatum. A right there. I have done nothing but hate on Jason Tatum his entire fucking career, and now I'm like, Thanasis A. He doesn't have to play another year. That's fine.
I thought it was gonna be him holding his hand up like he actually hit the shot on the Dame Time game winner earlier this week. I thought that was what took him from a C to an A for you.
That it factors in, honestly. He's a whole vibe, and it's hilarious. I love him. Like
so do I. People hate on Thanasis, and he's not good at basketball, and I don't know why he's on this Bucks roster. Dude, I think he 100% serves a purpose on this Bucks roster. And like I said, when you mentioned Robin Lopez, there are guys on every roster that are not going to play very much. That's just the NBA. And if you're going to have a guy who's not going to play very much, you might as well have a guy like Thanasis, who's going to be there to hype everybody up, to lead the cheer, to be his brother's sort of inspiration. Yeah,
he picked dude nose for him. He's awesome. It's just he's out there doing dirty stuff. Like
I'm all about Thanasis.
What A?
Hey, we're going him an A. He gets an A from me. Who's next?
I got Marjan. I'm going C-.
What have you not seen from Marjan that you wanted to see?
It's the decision making, honestly. Like he seemed really confident like when he played last year, and like there were the flashes of him knowing what he wanted to do with the ball when he got it. And now it seems like he's unsure when he gets subbed in. If he's like in with Andre Jackson, I think his stock rises a lot because the two young guys play together really well with energy. But by himself as his own little entity, I think he panics and he thinks he's going to get benched if he doesn't play well. You know, it's like there are times it seems like he's hesitant to do, am I passing or shooting? And he also has a really long wind up to shoot the ball. Like, it's just, it seems like the mechanics are just, it seems like it took a step back. But I love the energy he plays, and it's not a lack of effort thing. It's
and
just,
again,
I don't know.
Based on, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know based on like where this team sits right now, how much crucial playing time he's going to be able to get. It's like the same thing with Jordan Nwora, like when we had him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know when you're going to get the time to really develop or prove yourself, and it's not his fault. It's just you have so many other players that we're relying on.
It really seemed like this was the year that the Bucks and his teammates were expecting him to sort of make that jump in his development and contribute more than he has to this point in his career. And I think it was Dame Lillard who was talking about how talented this guy is and all the things he can do out there, and he's gonna shock us and surprise us this year when he gets his shot. And it just hasn't been there, Drew. I've never been a huge Marjan guy, but if it was going to happen for him in terms of taking that leap into being playing a bigger role for this team than he has to this point, I think that it was this season, and it's just not happening to this point. They're going to have to look in other directions to get what they want out of him.
Yeah, and yeah, I just think like that. Yeah, he has loads of talent, just loads and loads of raw talent, and I really like the way he plays, and he's physical and stuff. I just right now, and this is actually my next player is Andre Jackson. I gave him a C+. I really like Andre Jackson and what he brings. I think he's gonna be on this team a lot longer and be a more key part of the team in the future. Especially what we drafted him knowing he was gonna be. He wasn't like an offensive guy at all. Like they compared him to Draymond Green. I really like Andre Jackson. I like that Griff is actually like really comfortable starting him if somebody sits, and he can start, 2 through 4. And, he plays decent defense. He's getting the rookie foul calls where he might be a little handsy, and the league is kind of checking him on it. But I really like what I see out of Andre Jackson. I'm giving him a C+ because he doesn't get a ton of minutes. But I also like that he does seem like he knows what he wants to do with the ball when he gets it. Like, he has a quicker release on his threes. He's not I wouldn't say he's a better three-point shooter than Marjan. But when he, like last night in the first quarter, he got a rebound, ran to the three-point line, and turning and shooting. And it was all to his decision the whole way. And, like, I actually like that confidence better because I think that'll translate in the long run to being a productive player.
And he's instant energy, man. When they bring him off the bench and into the game, you can see immediately that he infuses a little bit of energy, a little bit of juice into that Bucks team out there. And you need guys like that. And I agree with you 100%. Between him and Beauchamp, I think that he's definitely the guy who's more seizing the opportunity and seizing the moment to play a role for this team, because they were definitely going to be looking to some guys to play bigger roles for this basketball team because of the shift in the roster that they had this offseason with the Dame trade and everything else that happened this offseason. They were definitely going to be looking for different guys to play bigger roles for this team than they have in the past. And I really like, you gave him a solid C for Andre Jackson. C, I was going to say, I'd give him a C+. I'd go even a little bit higher than just a straight C for him. I'm going C+. I really like what I've seen from him, and I think the arrow is pointed up.
I think he's an above a positive influence on the team. Like, I really like him. And like I said, there are little things that I really like about him. Like when he got into that little scruff with the Pacers a couple weeks ago, and Tyrese Halliburton was yelling at him, being like, "You ain't that guy." And it's like, motherfucker, 4 of your teammates are walling him off from you. So don't sit here and say that you're that guy. Like, Andre Jackson had like Bobby Portis crazy eyes. Like he was ready to go. And I'm like, and Bobby Portis wasn't even in that scruff. It's like, hell yeah, dude. Like be there. Like,
all right, who you got next?
All right. We got playoff Patty C, dude. Pat Connaughton plus. And
what was that?
What?
What'd you give him?
D plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
wrote a lot of notes under this one because I actually looked up numbers to support this because I was really.
I like that you took a lot of notes to shit on Pat Connaughton. That's great.
Well, yeah. Also, my own research. I had that guy. It was me. So first of all, the one thing that frustrates me more than anything about the way Pat Connaughton has played, and he's one of the few players that got below a C grade, because it's like we're second place in the East. There's no way that you can just be giving Fs and Ds to everybody. Yeah. He did get the D or the D plus, and you can clip that. Got the D.
Pause.
The flybys are what just drives me absolutely fucking crazy. I called him a blue angel because he flies by more than like Jets do on the fucking 4th of July over Miller Park. Like, and I'm dead naming Miller Park. I am so tired of watching him get beat and then go flying by some dude who's not even a great shooter on a pump fake. Like, it's like a guy could be agreeing with something going on and Pat like jumps at him like he's a dumb dog. Like, it's crazy. And he's leaving his feet because he's getting beat on defense. His 3-point percentage is the second worst of his career. Last year, I think, was the worst. You look that up. That was last year. He was at like 33%. He's at 35 now. He's averaging 5 points per game, which is the lowest of his career outside of his first 2 seasons with Portland when he was drafted. He's at 5.4 points per game, and there was only one other season he did that, and that was like the first year he was with the Bucks. But he was also rebounding 2 more rebounds per game. This is statistically Pat Connaughton's worst season, and of course the season's not over, but it is statistically his worst season that he's played the pro. I don't know.
And I know he was coming off the injury. He was coming off the injury earlier in the season. I don't know how much of it is that, but you mentioned we saw a drop off or a step back last season from him. So you do got to wonder if it's just, Father Time is undefeated, and I'll forever be grateful to Pat Connaughton for the role he played in this team winning that championship that I just put the picture of a few minutes ago at the parade. But it's all things must come to an end, and we might be near the end of Pat C's productive days for the Milwaukee Bucks.
And I mean, he's done a lot of cool things like taking discounts to like stay here. He's, said all the right things that he wants to be here. Like, fans love him. He's cool. The thing is, I'm like, is he being productive? And I think out of the guys we're relying on the most, he is the least productive. And that sucks to say because I do like Pat Connaughton a lot. Yeah. And also the rebounding numbers, I was like, there might be somebody in there being like, but he comes off the bench, plays with Bobby Portis. He had higher numbers with Bobby Portis also having higher rebounding numbers. Both of them are down rebounding this year.
Mm-hmm.
My next one is Bobby Portis, by the way, because I kind of pair them.
Let's get to Bobby.
Just a solid C. If
really
Bobby Portis has the potential to be like a B plus, A minus type player, like to the level of like where I would be, I'm comfortable when he starts. If you have to give Giannis a night off or Brooke a night off, but like when his shooting isn't working, and I'm talking about like anything, if he's not making those little bunnies around the rim, if he's not doing that face-up jumper down, down in the baseline, and if he's not making threes, he's also not rebounding in those games. It's like it all happens at once or it doesn't happen at all. Like, that's the hardest thing about Bobby Portis, because he was on a 3-week tear back in December where he was just a double-double machine. He was like 6th man of the year caliber again. And then after Christmas, his shooting just fell off again. And then the rebounding was down too. In those games where he's only scoring like 4 or 5 points in a game, he's also only pulling down 2 or 3 rebounds. And then defensively, he's just not that good. I think Drew Holiday.
Yeah, when I'm looking at it right now, and his production has dropped off. I was surprised when you first gave the grade of C. And again, this is for me the way I grade, always based on expectations. And in his first 2 years here, he averaged a little over 14 and a half and a little over 14 points, or his second and third year here, not his first 2 years here. But and on top of that, grabbing almost 10 rebounds a game. And now this year, it's a significant drop off. Drew, you mentioned that hot streak that he had back in December, and he had another one, a couple 2-3 games in a row here recently after the new year, where he heated up a little bit. But the consistency has not been there, and you see that when you look at the total numbers that he's racked up to this point.
Yeah. And like when everybody gets clicking on all cylinders again, like I have total faith that Bobby Portis is going to be productive again by the end of the year. Like all of these grades can change and they can all go up. Besides the nasty, an A, he's a lock. Yeah. That's. But yeah, I think that Bobby Portis can get on a really good run at some point. Probably, it could start tomorrow or Saturday or whatever. He could get on that run and he could look like the sixth man of the year again, because all the guys that were in the running for sixth man of the year, they've all fallen off pretty significantly points. So it's just a good bench year for a lot of the best bench players. So that's fine. The league is incredibly talented. The next guy, this is impossible to give a grade to Jay Crowder because he was hurt for so long. And he just came. What?
Incomplete.
Yeah, it would be incomplete, but I'm like, based on just the injury, I'm like, I still gave him a grade. I gave him a B- because he was really reliable shooting to come out of this. Like, he was our best 3-point shooter coming out of the offseason. So, yeah, I was like, I don't know, like, we'll see what he can turn into, but I'm basing it on what he did while he was out there for those couple games. And yeah, like, I like Jay Crowder. Also, he's a Marquette guy, so I'm really rooting for Jay Crowder on that one. That's kind of a personal. That's like my personal, like, I can't give you lower than a B- here. Like, but that's what he's.
I can't give him any grade. Straight incomplete for me for Jay Crowder.
Cameron Payne, C+. He does everything that we need him to. I think he's a net positive out there for the most part. I mean, he's not getting a ton of minutes. I don't cringe when he's out there. And he, I think, is a good veteran backup guard. Obviously, this doesn't even need to be said, but like if Damian Lillard got hurt, of course you're not going to fill those shoes because who the hell can?
Mm-hmm.
But Cam Payne, at least for the stretches he's out there, and even last night, I did like seeing him and Damian Lillard play off of each other a little bit longer because they had to, and just playing around with stuff. I think he gets to his shot decently. He also has a goofy long windup for his shot, but it goes in a lot more. I also like those little floaters because we don't have a guy who will just hit a floater every now and then. Like, we don't have a whole lot of those players.
True.
So I like Cam Payne.
I'd like to see a few more minutes for Cam Payne, honestly, especially when with some of the struggles that we've talked about with some of these other guys at the guard and the swing positions, like Marjan, with the struggles that Pat has had. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of Cam Payne. I honestly had higher expectations when they signed him, and it's not so much his fault that he hasn't lived up to those expectations. I just don't think he's gotten the minutes to be able to put up those kinds of numbers. So I'm with you. He's probably right around a C in meeting expectations but not exceeding them. And I think it could be better than that if he got more of a look and more run.
Definitely. I would like to see him. There are some nights where we're struggling. I would be fine with him playing the 1 and Dame playing the 2 for a little bit. Just a little bit longer. If you can't get Beasley going, if Chris Middleton has minute stuff or something, I'm totally fine with them throwing Cam Payne out there for a little bit longer with some of the starters.
Yeah, I have no problem. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of him.
I'm going to go. Okay, so now we're getting into the starters. Malik Beasley's getting a B. Okay, I'm giving him a B. And here's why. Because he has two. Malik Beasley gets a B. And this is why. I had to average this out. Because on defense, he gets a fucking F. A big fat F. He is God damn it, I love Malik Beasley, but he is the worst defender on that team, I think. Like, he is. I told you that he reminds me of like the Nokia brick phone game, like the snake game, where it's like the thing goes and the tail is always a second behind. That's him defending everybody. Like, but offensively, I do give him an A because he's leading the league in 3-point percentage.
That's wild, man. That is wild. That's crazy.
He benefited super early from coming into a new system with Damian Lillard also coming into a new system, because we looked that up earlier this week about like who does Damian Lillard have the most assists to. Of course, it's Giannis, but second place was Malik Beasley, because I thought that I saw Dame passing to Beasley a lot and him paying off a lot of 3-pointers. And I think that says a lot about Damian Lillard still being a shooter at heart for the most part, and be able to find and know where shooters are going to be.
And remember before the season started, because when they traded Drew Holiday and it was obvious that Malik Beasley was sliding into the starting lineup, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, where's the defense going to come from?" And they're like, "Watch." They're like, "Watch, Beasley is going to surprise some people with his defense out there." And we were like, "What? Really? Is he?"
I was one of those. I was going off a 2K rating at that point. I'm just like,
what? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't go off a 2K rating.
All right. Next, I'm going to go. Oh, yeah. So I'd say a B because, like, yeah, if you lead the league in a significant stat like 3-point percentage, you can't go that low. And again, we're in second place.
I'll give him an A. I'm giving him an A because, again, based on the curve of expectations, I didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe when they were telling us that he was going to provide defense for this team. I knew that wasn't happening. I knew he was just out there to provide offense. And not only has he done that, he's done that in spades. And as you pointed out, leads the league in 3-point shooting percentage. I have no qualms with Malik Beasley, not even his defense, because I knew what was about to happen before it happened.
Oh, also the shimmy is awesome. That's sick.
Oh, I love the shimmy. That's pretty great.
All right, next I'm going to go with Brook Lopez. I'm giving him a B+.
Okay.
And he's second in the league in blocks per game.
I might go A, B, A-, B+, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know what more you could ask for from Brook Lopez than what he's given you to this point.
Also, out of 2 years removed from the back surgery at this point, dude, he doesn't miss games. He's incredible.
Yeah, like, it's insane, dude. The transformation of Brook Lopez over the course of his career and the way that he's extended his career with changing his style of play and then having that back surgery that apparently has just rejuvenated the guy. It's incredible, man. And he's just one of my favorite guys, just one of my favorite dudes in the NBA, and I love to see it.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like I said, he can easily by the end of the year, especially if he goes on a blocking tear, he could easily be an A. But like I think B+ right now. I love Brook Lopez. He's awesome. Which one do you want next? These are the two controversial ones. We're down to Middleton and Dame. Which one do you want first?
Let's leave Dame for last. Let me hear what you got on Chris.
Chris Middleton, and this is going to be the one that's going to upset people. A-.
I'm giving that seems a little.
But based on expectations, the knee surgery, the wrist issue, he's incredibly efficient shooting inside the arc. Not last night, okay? Last night it doesn't make that was rough. That was hard to watch. I missed on the parlay. That was pretty bad. He only covered like 5 points of the 27.5 points, rebounds, assists he needed.
Dude, what was he like 1 for 14 at some? Didn't he hit his first shot in the third quarter on his 15th attempt last night?
There was something like that. I was at the Laughing Tap drinking pistachio cream ales, so I was pretty drunk at that point. I was like, what?
When did they add pistachio cream ales to the Laughing Tap?
They've had them for a long time.
Really?
Indeed,
might have
brewing.
to try that.
Dude, it's really good. It's okay. It tastes like ice cream. I don't know, with beer. It's like a fat boy treat. It's nice.
Noted.
But no, also Chris Middleton with his assisting to Giannis and everything. Like all of these guys' contributions are what are putting Giannis in line to be another guy who should be considered for MVP again. And it's all straight up because like Middleton and Giannis's chemistry after 11 years playing together, it's like they're the same brain out there. Yeah. Like it's Giannis for a lot of like pick and rolls and stuff here and there. Chris hits him on alley-oops. He hits him off of inbounds. He hits them everywhere. Like it's those two guys just they're the same. Like it's something you can't even teach. Like how good those two are together.
Yeah, you definitely got to factor that in. You definitely got to factor in the Chris Middleton effect on Giannis and how well he's playing.
And as good as Giannis is, I think Chris does make him better, and Chris is a good calming force out there. And honestly, I think a lot of last night's disaster happened because Middleton got rattled early. There was an early foul. I don't know if you saw that. He got hit hard on the arm. Yeah. The ball in the fucking air, and they acted like they didn't see it. And it was like, dude, that ball doesn't just go flying. And like Middleton was in a funk from that on. Dame was getting hammered by guys. Chris was getting bodied. And it's like, so what? Now your two best players out there can't even operate? It's like, that sucks.
Yeah. I want to forget last night. Let that be the last time we bring up last night.
No, because I got to tell you the story about it. And then Damian Lillard, based on expectations, I just gave him a B. That's it.
That's fair.
His offense, his shooting is so up and down, but he is the best goddamn closer in the league right now. Like it's, I do think that my grade, the biggest change in grades that's going to happen by the end of the year, I think Dame is going to be an A or an A+ by the end of the year. And
yeah, I'm still in the camp that it only goes up from here when you talk about the Bucks and the addition of Giannis or the addition of Dame, excuse me. It only gets better because not only are you adding a guy and adding his style of play to what already exists within the Milwaukee Bucks, but he's been going through personal stuff off the court too, while trying to learn and integrate himself into what the Bucks are doing. I think that there's still a long ways to go, and hopefully they get there by the playoffs before we're where they want this thing to be or what they envisioned when they traded for Dame Lillard, which is why to this point, and I said this to you and Bart the other day, my enthusiasm and optimism about this team and about the acquisition of Dame hasn't wavered or faltered, not even a little bit. I'm still where I was the day that they traded for him, which was very excited and thinking this team had as good a chance as anybody, if not better than anybody, to win an NBA championship. I think it only gets better from here, and we start to see more and more of what we expected when they made that move.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, he's my favorite player, and it sucked to be like, God, you really got to give him a B right now. But yeah, when he came back from his personal day against Utah, last week when he didn't play, like he came back and he was phenomenal. He started taking shots he wasn't taking earlier in the season, little step back jumpers inside the arc and stuff, and he was knocking them down with a ton of confidence. It just seemed like that day off, whatever he needed to do for himself, it worked. And last night, Cleveland's a physical team. Shit like that's gonna happen, and that's fine. And I mean, I think Saturday he's gonna be right back at it, and he's gonna be fine. And it's just gonna start the whole thing all over again, where it's like new day, and it's they're gonna be fine. So those are my grades. Oh, I didn't do AJ Green, but fuck it, A. Somebody called him.
Sure, why not? Sure.
I forgot. I was missing somebody, and then I'm like, oh yeah. They called him Derry Bird. I'll give him an A. That's fun.
Nobody was tuning in for your grade for AJ Green. That was not something that anyone was tuning into the show for, Drew.
We have a few friends from Iowa who really would like me to talk about the pride of Iowa, AJ Green.
Oh, AJ Grill, our friend and comedian.
Yeah, go Clowns. Yeah.
So there are our Bucks mid-season grades here on the Ramie and Drew show. A couple other housekeeping items that we should address before we get out of here. Drew, yesterday there was a trade in the NBA and in the Eastern Conference. Pascal Siakam goes from the Raptors to the Pacers, and this is a Pacers team that, quite frankly, has had the Bucks number to this point in the season, and they just got a guy who has won an NBA title and has been pretty good in this league. This scare you at all? The Siakam to the Pacers move?
No,
not even a little bit. No,
not at all. They don't scare me. But I'm more scared of Obi Toppin than Pascal Siakam right now. Like, no, it's not scared of the Pacers. Their bench got weaker defensively, getting rid of Bruce Brown. And also, it's like, remember, Pascal Siakam won a ring. So did Bruce Brown. So, whatever. I mean, they're not the same player, but I don't know. Like, I don't think that's so what? Now you got Pascal Siakam in the starting lineup that's going to be taking shots away from Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton. They did keep Buddy Hield, which was cool, I guess, for them. But, like, I don't know. Like, the trade's great for Toronto to rebuild.
I think they're better. I mean, you don't get worse by trading for a guy like Pascal Siakam. And you're right. There is going to be some fitting in that needs to happen. Just like, and not to this degree, but just like we just talked about with Dame, when you add a guy who has accomplished what Pascal Siakam has accomplished in this league and can do the things that he can do, you have to figure out how you're going to use that within the system and the players that you already have. So I think there'll be a learning curve, but they are better. But that being said, Drew, no, they don't scare me. It's still the Bucks and the Celtics in the East, and maybe the Sixers as sort of a dark horse on the outside of those top two looking in. But other than that, everybody's just playing for fourth place in the Eastern Conference, and I don't think that's going to change with anybody who's on the trade block this season.
No, I still think Cleveland is the 4 seed regardless. Like, I think Cleveland's really good. Like, it's gonna be an injury thing with them if guys are constantly hurt. Like, isn't Mobley still hurt or something?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like they're the team that honestly bugs me the most out of the East because of how big and physical their front court is.
We saw that last night. Yeah.
Jared Allen and when Mobley's right, like those two are they're tough to knock around. And like, I think Jared Allen is the closest thing to a Brook Lopez like center that anybody else in the East has. Is maybe not the blocks, but the physicality and how much space he takes up. Like, Jared Allen's the guy who scares me.
All right. And lastly, last thing I wanted to address, Bruce Brown went to the Raptors in that deal for Pascal Siakam, and they're going to move him. That was just another piece that they got so they can move and acquire more assets. And I love Bruce Brown, man, and I think he would look great coming off this Bucks bench. Yeah,
I would be all right taking Bruce Brown, especially if it's one of those things where it's like if he's replacing a Pat Connaughton. Yeah. That's where the upgrade needs to happen. You also heard that PJ Tucker is in, like, they're talking about trading him to Washington and then Washington waiving him.
That's right. Yeah, I did read that. Yeah.
Hey, do you take Tucker back? I'd be fine swapping. It's almost like in a like just a wave based thing in like a video game where you're just throwing different guys right at them constantly. Where it's like, okay, we're gonna throw Jay Crowder at you for 3 minutes. Now we're throwing PJ at you. Now we're throwing someone else at you, and it's just keep cycling guys through to bother other teams. And I would be all right with PJ coming here on a league minimum if he wants to again. But Bruce Brown is younger and has the deepest, most recent playoff experience out of anybody we could acquire. Because he was with Denver when they won last year.
Yeah.
So I would take Bruce Brown if we could somehow get him for nothing. And then would you think that he would want to go stick it to Indiana for getting rid of him? That would be pretty fun.
He instantly went to the top of my wish list as far as midseason trade acquisitions this year and guys that might be on the trade block. Instantly went to the top of my wish list.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to tell your story from last night and watching the Bucks game at where were you at? Promises?
And I went to Promises again. That's the bar right around the corner from the Laughing Tap. And just because Louisa just got back into town from being in Germany for like over a month, like with her family. I just texted her. I'm like, hey, are you going to the Tap? Do you want to watch the beginning of the Bucks game? And she was like, oh, fuck yeah. So like I pick her up from a Collectivo, so she's all fired up on like nicotine and coffee. And then we go to Promises, and the Bucks game is on, and there's like 3 other people in the bar besides the bartender, and the other people in the bar were also there to watch the game. So it was kind of fun. It was like chill. And then like Louisa is sitting next to me. We go down, like it's like, okay, they score the first two Cleveland scores first two baskets. And I'm like, it's not that bad, it's not a big deal. And then it's 11-2 and we call a timeout. And she goes, that's not good. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be fine. Like it's like we can come back. We got a lot of shooters. Then it's 20-2, and she's just starting to look at me. And then the score just keeps going up for Cleveland, and on that too. She goes, can they still come back? And she's like nudging me the whole time. And I'm like, oh, okay, this one's over. This is pretty bad. Like this is. And then like she goes, are you gonna hit on any of your bets? And I'm like, no one's playing the rest of this fucking game. Like this sucks. All my bets are gonna miss. Like it's just.
That's a bad night.
Michelob Ultra because my bets missed. So
it's a bad night. It is. It can be enlightening watching sports with people who don't really watch sports. You know what I mean? Like they notice stuff that you don't notice, and they make comments that make you think. Where you're like, oh shit, that had never crossed, because our minds get conditioned to think a certain way, you know what I mean? Or just to get used to certain things. And then they point it out and we're like, oh yeah, that's fucking crazy. Or yeah, this game was over when it was 11-2. Like she fucking hit the nail on the head when she said the game was over at 11-2.
She's a soccer person though. So like she watches that, she's like 11 points is a lot. That's like a year. You saw that number? I don't think Germans know how to count past 11. That was fucking.
That's not fair. Einstein was German. That's not fair. He can count past 11.
Reagan walks into the bar and Louisa goes, Drew's not doing good. I'm like, no, the Bucks aren't doing good. And it's all of a sudden I'm doing fine. Like it was so funny. And she was telling me about like how she's gonna watch basketball with me, so I watch like soccer with her over the summer. Because I know you don't want to, but like, hey man, I'm gonna might be fodder for the podcast at this point. But I thought it was so funny that she was telling me, she's like, in Greece and Turkey, they just have to, whoever the winner of that game is, it's like a border dispute, like over in that region. She's like, it's like borders can get moved because of this. And like, there's going to be like, they're like doing like, we can't have like a land battle over there because of how crazy it's going to be with the soccer. And like, we just want the soccer game to happen. She's like, what happens if the Bucks beat the Cavaliers tonight? And I just looked at her. I'm like, we can call Cleveland fans gay. Like that's as far as I went. And then we're just getting spanked and gay. And I was just like, yeah, that was.
There you go. You really won, Drew. You were the big winner in the end.
I won. I won. I just drank pistachio beers the rest of the night.
You lost your bets, and the Bucks got the shit kicked out of them. But you got to say mean things about Cavs fans. You're the real winner here, Drew.
Well, I didn't get to say mean things about them because we didn't win.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, they got to say mean things about you. Next time, buddy. You'll get them next time.
We play them like 2 more times in the next week.
Yeah, I know. That's Drew Flaggy. I am Ramie Makloff. Together, we form Ramie and Drew. Did you have something else to add? Yeah. Come catch us tomorrow night. If you're in the Janesville area, or even if you're not, make the drive. We'll be at the Comedy Cabin. Drew, put your hat real close to the camera so folks can see. We're at the Comedy Cabin in Janesville tomorrow. ComedyCabin.com for tickets. And you can catch Drew and me both on the same show. What a treat for you. Go and check it out at ComedyCabin.com. And please follow, subscribe, like, rate, review this show on YouTube and Spotify. We will continue to make improvements. Drew has a microphone on the way, or at least some headphones with the microphone on them. I'm going to put something here in the background. We're gonna grow. We're gonna improve. We're gonna keep getting better, and we appreciate the support.
Yeah, and also on Twitter, if anybody wants to drop ideas of what else he wants to talk about. If you want more Marvel talk, it's not gonna happen. I'm not watching it. It's
I'll keep bringing it up though. I'll keep bringing it up just to annoy you. That's Drew Flaggy. I'm Ramie. I'm Ramie Makloff. This is Ramie and Drew, episode 2. Back tomorrow with episode 3, and we'll talk about Packers and 49ers in the playoffs. We'll talk to you then.
Sick.